All right, so now that you have broken down a brand and now you have rebranded the brand and then applied it to a mock product using Adobe Dimension, what we're going to do is we are going to make a mock app. And to complete that, we're actually going to use Adobe XD, yet another piece of software. A big part of this course is just going to be like surveying different things. So anyway, what this program is used for is basically UI design, user interface design. So you can use it for a variety of things. It's most commonly used to mock up mobile apps, but you can also use it for, you can see here, like web and other things as well, and just mocking up visual things because it has a pretty approachable user interface. It's one of their newer apps, it also incorporates a little bit of interactivity. Okay, so in our case, we're going to create this mobile app, and what that's going to do is it's not meant for the final product, although it will have elements of that. It will visually be the right resolution, and you can also create some interactive components within it. However, it does not export out to something that can actually be published on iOS or Android or other means. You can preview it through the browser, but that's about it. The main purpose of it, again, is just to show the client something, what the potential product would be, as well as delivering this to a developer so that they can produce the actual code that would be necessary in order to create it, right? So this is more being on the front end, looking at it from a visual and interactive aspect, as opposed to developing the nitty gritties and coding, right? This is a design class. This is not necessarily a super heavy coding class, although you'll see in a little bit we'll be doing web, and that will be a little bit of coding, but we're going to try and alleviate that as much as possible. So for this, what I want you to do is just use your rebrand. So I did Pepsi in mine, so you should do whatever yours is, and we're just going to make a mock iOS app. Okay, so there are a bunch of different options here. You could do your own custom sizes, but for ours, let's just go ahead and do this one. If yours is different in some way, I don't really care. They're all generally similar aspect ratios, right? A phone's got generally that one kind of resolution that you're typically, not resolution, but aspect ratio that you would typically see. So for mine, I'm just going to go ahead and just use this top one, but you can utilize whatever you makes sense to you. If you want to use your own phone, you can use that as well, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to go ahead and make this. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over the interface. It's actually very user-friendly, but it does have some depth to it once you start actually utilizing it. Okay, so on the top, obviously, you have your file. And these things, we're not going to use these a whole ton, so you'll see this file, which you can save and export, and that sort of thing. Import, we will be using that. Edit, copy, paste, all that stuff. Object, there are some options in here, but you're going to see that generally when you make objects, like let's just draw an object here. I will just use the panel on the side here as opposed to this up here. There are some things that might be a little bit easier to do up here. Plugins. This does have quite a few plugins that are readily available. You'll see that we can interact with those. You can also use this panel here. Yeah. And then you click Discover Plugins. I don't suggest this because this gives you generic plugins. It brings you to the plugin homepage. You do it up here, it'll bring you to the page that has plugins, but it will be XD specific, which is kind of what you want when you're in XD. So anyway, view, zoom in and out. You should know your hotkeys, so I don't think that this is particularly useful. And then window and that stuff. So I'm not overly concerned with that. Okay. On the left here, you'll see we have our toolbar. Okay. Notice there's not like a whole ton of things here. So we have select, which is how we select items. We can draw a rectangle, ellipse, and polygon, as well as the line. There is a pen tool. This program is sort of, you can put raster images, it's just as much as that, but when you make content natively, it's all vector based. So when you can make things vector, you're better off, obviously, because it's more resolution dependent, and then it can scale per what phone you are utilizing. There's also the text tool and then artboards. So basically, this is one artboard. It created the first artboard for us by default, which is beneficial. Yeah, but we can make our own as well, and we will momentarily, and then there's just like Zoom, which we're not going to be using. Underneath that, you'll see there are 3 buttons. I already showed you about the plugin button. There is also the this top one here, which is basically your document assets. So you'll see that we'll do things where we're going to make buttons and things like that, and then those will be stored over here. You can also store colors and as well as typefaces and things. You'll see in a moment when we set that up. There is also, so if I click this on the back, though, you'll see that your libraries are stored over here. This is particularly useful because let's say you're making a project and you're part of a team. Someone can make a library, or maybe you're making this app for a company, and they already have a library that has their branding in it, like it already has like their logo and their colors and all that other stuff. They can share that library with you, and then you can just draw from that, right? But for now, because we don't really need this, just go ahead and just keep it on document assets. That way, it'll just show you the items that you have imported and stored in your own project. So just leave that there. And then the one underneath here, this panel is basically, it contains all the elements of things that you have. So for instance, if I draw a square, it's going to show me the things that are in my actual stuff here, right? And if I draw another artboard, okay, you'll see that now there are 2 artboards. There's this one and this one. And if I double click on this, you can, inside of here, there's something in this one, so I'll back that up. But if I double click on this one, you can see, oh, there's the rectangle in this one. Let's go ahead and delete that. Okay. So basically this is what is actually in the project that you're viewing, in the actual document, while the other one's just all the items that could potentially be in there that you have imported. Okay. I'm going to go to select. I'm going to grab this guy. I'm just going to hit delete because we don't need that right now. That's the general interface. Now, the last thing, let's put this back in here actually, is this panel over here. And this is basically just your properties. It allows you to do alignment. You can change colors, corners, all sorts of stuff. Okay. And depending on what items you have over here, these options will be different. Okay. So for instance, if I have this selected, you'll see there are different options here as well. And just so you're aware too, I'm doing this iPhone Pro Max, whatever. If I click on a new artboard, it'll actually give me options for more, just so you know. So if you want to, like, maybe the one you want to do is in here, maybe your phone shows up in here. If for some reason, like they even have the iWatch or whatever, if for some reason it's not in here, you can feel free to, I'm just going to delete that. You can feel free to select the artboard, and you can just change the resolution here to the resolution that you want it to be. Okay, so just be aware that that's an option as well. All right, let's make that just the video actually, because that's a good overview of the last thing that you would be doing is over here, which is basically how you preview your items. So we can view it on a device, so you can hook up your device to it. You can hit play. This is actually not the last thing, and that's going to give me a preview. You're going to see it's going to pop up a window, and then you're going to see a preview of it, and then you can have your buttons and click and interact with it. Okay, and then the other thing that's mostly important here is this. These are kind of the direction you go. First, you're going to do your design, where you just kind of lay out the graphics. Then you'll do prototype, which is where you hook up your various panels, and then you do share. Which is basically allows you to export out a link, and then they will host it themselves. And it's basically a web page that anyone can access. And so this is really good. Obviously, you're sending to a client and stuff. And I'll probably have you share this with me this way, as well as give me the file. And then you can also share it with your peers, so everyone can see what they're doing. Okay. So hopefully that all makes sense. That's the general interface.